Hey guys, let us get more news about Steelers, but before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Tim Benz, Kyle Dubas quote about Mike Sullivan may be more revealing than he realizes. The Steelers' signing of quarterback Russell Wilson seems to have made a lot of folks in Pittsburgh very happy. Perhaps the two people who are the most excited about it are Penguins coach Mike Sullivan and Penguins general manager Kyle Dubas. Because with everyone talking about Wilson coming to Pittsburgh, no one is talking about how awful the Penguins are right now. In terms of Sullivan, his team has lost 7 of 9 games and sits in 7th place of the 8-team Metropolitan Division. Regarding Dubas, very few of the moves he has made in year one on the job show any evidence that they will help him dig out from the rubble left behind by his predecessor Ron Hextall. Not to mention, most hockey observers in Pittsburgh are underwhelmed by the return from Carolina in the Jake Gensel deal. Another thing that is starting to rub some Pittsburghers the wrong way is Dubas' unwavering support of Sullivan. It started on day one of his tenure and has almost become more steadfast despite this disaster of a season where Sullivan has shown an utter inability to effect any change from his stumbling group of players. That's on top of missing the playoffs last year and failing to win a playoff series in 2019-22. Yet during a recent edition of his GM radio show with Penguins play-by-play man Josh Getzoff, Dubas reiterated his alliance with Sullivan. "I've said a couple of times now, if you don't have Sully, then you're looking for Sully," Dubas said. "If you have it, you should keep it, especially when there's no salary cap when it comes to coaching. It's much different than the decisions that you make with the roster. Right? Like, for instance, when you trade Jake Gensel, you are instantly looking for Jake Gensel." But I'll yield to Dubas' point about the free agent market and salary cap implications on that point. However, I'm actually seizing on the other part of Dubas' quote. Because when he says, "If you don't have Sully, then you're looking for Sully," I'd argue the Penguins have been looking for that Sully since they lost to the Washington Capitals in the 2018 playoffs. Because the guy who has been coaching the Penguins in the years since then is not the same guy who coached the Penguins that season or the 2 years prior to it. Steelers to re-sign DL Montravius Adams. Montravius Adams has found a home in Pittsburgh in recent years, and the Steelers will continue to hang on to the defensive lineman. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports that the Steelers are re-signing Adams. The veteran will get a new 2-year deal from the Steelers. Adams spent parts of the 2021 campaign in New England and New Orleans before catching on with the Steelers. He started 4 of his 5 appearances down the stretch of that season, and he started 17 of his 30 appearances over the past 2 campaigns. The 28-year-old has combined for 50 tackles over the past 2 years, and he finished this past season with a forced fumble and a pair of tackles for loss. Pro Football Focus ranked him 72nd among 130 qualifying interior defenders this past season, with the site being particularly bullish on his pass rush skills. Rookie Keanu Benton leaped Adams on the depth chart this past season. When the veteran returned from a mid-season leg injury, he was playing on about a third of his team's defensive snaps. Barring a move, Adams will likely be eyeing a similar backup role in 2024. Mutual interest between Steelers and rivals $43 million WR report. The Pittsburgh Steelers have already landed one big name this offseason that came at the expense of an AFC North rival, former Baltimore Ravens linebacker Patrick Queen. Now it looks like they could try to pry a starter away from another division rival. According to The Athletic's Mark Kaboly on March 13, there is mutual interest between the Steelers and former Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver Tyler Boyd. The team was expected to look at receivers this offseason to fill their need at WR3 after Allen Robinson struggled in the role in 2023. Now they've traded Deontay Johnson, making wide receiver an even bigger priority. When talking about the Bengals' passing attack, there are 2 receivers that get most of the attention. Those 2 are Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins. Before those 2 arrived in Cincinnati, Boyd was on his way to a pretty impressive career of his own. Boyd had consecutive 1,000-yard seasons in 2018 and 2019 despite being thrown to by a declining Andy Dalton. The QB upgrade he had been waiting for came in 2020, but it was unfortunately accompanied by the arrival of Higgins. Boyd still made 79 catches for 841 in spite of the new competition for targets and Joe Burrow's ACL tear. The following year, Chase was added to the mix and immediately established himself as a star at the position. Boyd still ended the season with 67 catches for 828 yards. As the young stars continued to develop, Boyd's role shrunk, but he was still a productive third option. He made 58 catches for 762 yards in 2022 and then followed it up with 67 catches for 667 yards in 2023. Unfortunately, the team just can't afford to keep Boyd around after giving Burrow his big extension, franchise tagging Higgins, and preparing to give Chase his own big extension. Boyd is a player who was seen as a potential option for the Steelers well before the team traded Johnson. He grew up in Pennsylvania and played his college ball at Pitt. He even told Pittsburgh Sports Now in January 2024 that he would like to play for the Steelers at some point in his career. "You never know," Boyd told PSN. "I love Coach Tomlin. He's probably one of the realest dudes in the sports business. Obviously, I played at Pitt, and I had a lot of run-ins with him and talked to him just about football. His personality is more like a father figure. It's a great connection, but who knows? Even if I don't go after this year, I could do a one-year deal at the end of my career and maybe finish up, but who knows? Pittsburgh needs somebody dependable to step into Johnson's role, and it doesn't get much more dependable than Boyd. He could also be surprisingly affordable for a player of his caliber." Gabe Davis and Darnell Mooney are both set to make $13 million per year on the contracts they just signed. Boyd made a bit under $11 million per year on his most recent deal, and Pro Football Focus has him projected to earn around $8.25 per year on the next one. At 29 years old, the Steelers should get prime years out of Boyd for the duration of any contract they'd sign him to, so his age shouldn't be a concern. If the Steelers can make the money work, then Boyd is an ideal, low-risk option to be Pittsburgh's WR2 in 2024. And you, fan, what do you think about the situation of Tyler Boyd? Leave your opinion in the comments.